Hi everyone, Loida back here with another video, and today I have a very special guest, Nicole Espinosa, the short sale queen. For those of you that have been watching me, you have seen that I have done a few videos before with Nicole. Obviously, I just said the short sale queen, so today we're going to talk about short sales. So Nicole, for those that might not know who you are, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know maybe how you got into the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually got into the business in 2009 and I started working with foreclosures. So that's how I kind of know how the process works and worked with asset managers. And then fast forward, my first listing was a short sale. And then I realized there was no education when it came to this specific niche in real estate. Not a lot of realtors knew what they were doing or really knew about it. So I started doing my own short sales and then I started teaching about it. So I've been doing that for the last 11 years.
11 years.
It doesn't feel like it, but well, it does feel like it, but.
Okay. So let's jump right into short sales right now.
Yeah.
Because I always hear a lot of agents that say, oh, you know, short sales don't exist right now. The way that the market has been, you know, homes are flying off the shelf. So what has been your experience being in this market handling short sales?
Yeah, so that's the number one thing I get, right? Like, how can there be no equity properties in a market like this where there's no inventory? And what people need to understand is that there will always be short sales because people will always have a financial hardship. It's not hard to be upside down when you're years behind, and we have payoffs that are 100,000+ over what they originally bought it for. So like, for example, we have someone that purchased a house and purchased it for $200,000. So that's what their loan was for. And now their payoff is $360,000.
Wow.
So even in the best market that appreciates, you're still gonna have those type of homeowners that need help. But right now, what we're seeing is foreclosures, right? So we're seeing people that are coming out from forbearance that need help. And they may have equity, but they're losing their home because they don't know that they have options to help them. And that's really what we're focusing on right now, where we're helping homeowners and we're helping realtors that want to learn how to talk to these homeowners, because it's a different breed.
Yeah. When
someone's been behind for 3 years, it's a different kind of motivated than what you're used to when you're cold calling.
Yeah.
So we both cold call, or we did, and the difference is that your motivated is completely different than my motivated. Like the homeowners that I talk to in foreclosure, they need to work with me, but they don't want to work with me. So dealing with them is completely different than what you're used to.
So another question that I'm curious about personally is, what type of misinformation have you seen that homeowners maybe had or did not have in the past couple of years because of COVID and everything like that, going into the forbearance program? How have you seen that affect homeowners to get them in these situations that now you come in and help them out?
Yeah, I think realtors were a big part of the misinformation because they told homeowners to not pay their mortgage. They told homeowners, hey, the bank will help you. Like, the bank is a financial institution, okay? So they're out for themselves. They're not going to be helping homeowners. And what the government has done is they've put programs in place for people that have fallen behind, but the kind of help that they do is, hey, we're going to extend your loan from 30 years to 40. We're going to, increase your interest rate where originally you got 3 or 4%, and now you have 7 or 8 just to catch up. That's not really helping, right? And you have to look at big picture. So when you talk to people in this situation, you have to be the voice of reason. You have to be the person that's logical because this is an emotional thing. And so a lot of these homeowners are getting misinformation from, people in the industry as well as their lenders, because the lender is always going to look out for themselves.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you brought up the realtor and us being able to kind of feel what that person is going through.
Yeah.
So what are some tips that you can give to agents? Because there might be some agents that this might be their first deal, or this might be the only deal that they have going on, and they don't really put themselves in that homeowner's shoes. A lot of these people might be struggling. Maybe they lost a job, maybe they lost a loved one. So what are some tips that you can give agents so that they can take to implement when working with these type of individuals?
So probably the best tip I can give is to sit down and explain the options that the client has, that the homeowner has, right? Every situation is going to be different. A lot of times the best options to sell, because if that person doesn't have, if they don't have a temporary hardship, right? So say they had a reduction of income and they couldn't afford 1 or 2 payments, fine. But most people aren't like that. Most people miss a payment and then it's domino effects. They're behind on one thing and then now they're behind on everything else. So in those situations, it's better to sell now and to keep as much equity as possible so that you can move on than to try and drag it out with the bank. Because what happens is people try and exhaust all their options, and then they end up selling it anyway, and they either lose the house because it's too late, or they now have lost $50,000 or $60,000 of equity to the lender. And guess what? That's a life-changing amount of money. We had a house in Florida that we helped the homeowner, and she was 8 days away from losing the house. She had $200,000 of equity.
Wow.
I mean, and that would have changed her life. Like $200,000, and she was willing to throw it all away because she didn't understand, right? So this is a great opportunity for realtors that are getting into the game, that are trying to be different, right? They're trying to separate themselves from everyone else. And if they can figure out how to talk to these homeowners, if they can figure out how to build rapport to be like the expert, they're going to get so much. They're going to get so many opportunities. Foreclosures just consistently increase month after month. Last month it was 34%.
Wow.
So there are a ton of opportunities. You just have to understand how to talk to them so that they want to work with you.
What areas, cities, states are you seeing more foreclosures starting to come out in?
So right now, New Jersey's always like number one. I don't know why. So if you're from New Jersey, sorry, but that's just what it is. So New Jersey's always number one. We see Nevada, which is almost at the top, like 2 or 3.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what's on the list. I did a video on this. California is on the list, and Florida.
Okay.
So a ton of opportunity here. We're actually in Florida a lot now.
Yeah.
I've been here like 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks because of that.
Okay, awesome. So the big question, will the market crash this year?
No, absolutely not. Look, there's so many protections that have been put into place to avoid a flood of foreclosures. They've delayed things as much as possible. I mean, this is not a political statement, but Biden kicked the can down the road with the forbearances and trying to extend it as long as possible. They just stopped in the beginning of this year. So, and it was strategic, right? Because he didn't want to go into office and then now have a bunch of foreclosures. So because of that, the lenders have been more lenient of saying, hey, if you apply for help, you know, we're not going to foreclose on you. Well, now, like, the gloves are off. So now we're going to start seeing in the next couple years more and more opportunities and more people that are going to need help. But it's definitely not going to crash. We're in a totally different situation than we were before. You know, back when the market crashed, we had subprime loans and all of that. We don't have any of that going on. It's going to look different because now the person that needs help is different kind of seller than it was before.
So by when do you think the market's really going to start shifting? Do you think maybe later this year, next year? What are your thoughts on that? I
think it's going to be first quarter of next year. We've already seen so many things happen just in a short amount of time as far as more opportunities and more foreclosures. So I think that it's going to take at least 6 months to a year. So I think next year we're going to start seeing the market balance out. Now it's going to take a little bit longer in some areas like Colorado and, you know, because the markets are constantly appreciating.
Exactly.
Right? With prices and all of that. So I think next year we're gonna see a huge shift with the market. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you guys, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's gonna happen. So you can't believe what you hear out there where people say, you know, the market's gonna crash next year, because people have been saying that for like the past 4 years. I know that there's buyers that have been saying, you know, I'm gonna buy a property next year. Right. They haven't bought anything. Now they can't purchase anything because they can't afford it. Right. And rent continues to go up too. Yeah, you got to factor in inflation. It's always a good time to buy because ultimately, you know, you're going to have less options in the future, and the more that you, it's a time game, like right? It's like the factor of, hey, if you purchase now you've paid into it instead of rent. So yeah. So for anyone that's watching that wants to learn more about short sales, where can they find you? Do you have any classes going on? How can they get in touch with you? So you can head over to my channel. You can actually just go to shortsalequeentv.com and it goes right to the channel, or just look up Short Sale Queen. And we also have classes every month, education of teaching realtors on the entire process from start to finish. We do a case study, and then we answer any questions that you guys have. There you go. So make sure to follow Nicole on her YouTube channel, because she has a ton of videos on there regarding short sales. And if you want to get into that niche or want to find out more information, her channel is the way to go. So thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone else, and I'll see you guys on the next one.